Thank you for listening to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast, available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Stitcher. Also, please follow Matt's Movie Reviews on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Reddit, Instagram, and MeWe. And of course, be sure to visit mattsmoviereviews.net for the latest reviews, top 10 lists, and more. Now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 530. Releasing May 18 in Australian cinemas is Limbo, a crime drama that stars Simon Baker as a jaded detective who arrives in a remote outback town to investigate a 20-year-old cold case murder of a local indigenous girl. A haunting exploration into how a corrupt justice system has left a deep impact in the lives of an indigenous family. Limbo presents its slow burn mystery through beautiful black and white photography and soul-rich performances of its cast. And joining me now on a podcast to talk about Limbo is director Ivan Sen and the film's lead actor Simon Baker. Ivan and Simon, I thank you so very much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Ivan, I'd like to begin with you. So when it comes to your movies, your stories, the power of place is very important to you. Before you write a story, you need to find a location, and you found just a brilliant location in Cooper Pedy in South Australia. What was it about that environment that really resonated to you as a filmmaker and storyteller to lead to what people are going to see in Limbo next week?
Well, Cooper Pedy, unlike most places, there's two elements. There's the above ground, which is the normal thing, and then there's the underground culture. And this combination appealed to me in the context of a detective story about something that had happened in the past, a cold case. It's just, as I get older, I try not to analyze stuff too much, but just go more and more with feeling. And it just felt like the right place for this story to grow from. And I went out there and took a lot of photographs and started to turn them to black and white to see how they would look. And the black and white aspect came in pretty early and also informed the story from a script writing point of view very early on as well. And the characters, the place just felt like it was in some kind of limbo, and the underground aspect and the above ground aspect and the churches there, and it just fed into this kind of religious reference as well of being stuck underground, waiting for your fate to be given to you. And that out of that, this story and the characters grew, and I mean, the story very much comes from my own experience within my own family, but that experience is also common to indigenous communities all over Australia, including Cooper Pedy. And so I dragged my own personal kind of story into that environment and expanded that within the context of that local location and the people that make up that location as well in reality. And that's pretty much how all my films are made.
Simon, yourself and Ivan, you've talked about this film for a little while before the shooting began. One of the things that really kind of sealed the deal for you is those photographs that Ivan was talking about. He sent you some of those, and you're looking at these pictures of these landscapes and these kind of just really kind of almost kind of surreal kind of like images, even if this is in our country, but it almost seems like it's like on another planet, right? There's a reason why a lot of sci-fi productions and such shoot in Cooper Pedy. When you see these images, what are your reaction to them as an actor, as a storyteller that really kind of spoke to you and said, yeah, I know exactly where Ivan's coming from here? Because from what I read about you of late, a lot of the things that you come from lately in choosing role comes more from instinct as well. What kind of like what Ivan says, you're kind of like in the same wavelength, aren't you?
Mm. Yeah. My reaction, every conversation I had with Ivan, I always left that conversation feeling more secure in what he was doing, and when you feel that sense of security and that precision in which he approaches his filmmaking, it gives me more room and more space and more confidence as an actor to and a greater level of trust to allow to take risks and to push it as the character. But I do remember very clearly when he sent me through those first images. I was like, wow, this is great. This is incredibly cinematic, and I'm a big fan of cinematography, not just for the beauty of it, but for the purpose of how you present a story and the impact that every single frame has on the way that story is told and the tone of it. And it was just exciting for me to know that I was working with someone that had that same kind of feeling and passion about how the story is told. And Ivan's choice of shooting it in black and white was really exciting to me, because it does have an impact on how the performance sits within the landscape, because you're not you're so stimulated by color. Your brain is so stimulated by color that when you see something in black and white, you look deeper into it. When you look at a black and white photo, you look for what's going on in that frame, because your brain is the parts of your brain that are processing color is free to sort of process the drama of the story or drama of the image. And so that I like to work in that sort of precise way, where I knew that if Ivan shot it in black and white, it was going to impact the performance. And then, just as his decision there impacted that choice, I feel like all the way along in that process, we were both open to, if I'm doing this, he's going to put the camera here, or we're going to, if he's putting the camera there, I'm doing this. So it becomes this beautiful, natural, organic collaboration and trust between an actor and a director, which is a joy to work with. And hopefully we'll continue on and make some other things together, because it was it doesn't get much better than that when you get to work in that sort of situation. For me, that sort of environment.
The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by TeePublic. TeePublic is the world's largest marketplace for independent creators to sell their work on the highest quality merchandise. With over 1.2 million designs, TeePublic is sure to have something you love. The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by Amazon. The world's leading online store, Amazon is your first stop to buy a wide range of products at competitive prices with fast delivery times. Amazon is also a world-class entertainment hub that includes Prime Video, Audible, Twitch, Amazon Music, and more. Sign up with Amazon today and experience the best in online shopping and entertainment. Please support Matt's movie reviews on Patreon. Get access to exclusive content, request movie reviews and top 10 lists, and help support my work. Please click on the Patreon link in the description below. Simon, just to stick with you for a moment. So there's a scene in the movie, it's a dinner scene, and I love dinner scenes in movies. To me, they're some of my favorite scenes in film. So you're at a dinner with Natasha Wangenen's character. She has her two kids. One of the kids looks at you and says, "You don't look like a cop." And I think it's a reaction a lot of people are going to have when they see you in the films. Like, this doesn't look like the Simon Baker we know. There's the shaved head, the glasses, the tattoos. How early in the process is it that you know that this was going to be the look for your character of Travis? Was it something that you and Ivan spoke about beforehand, or is it something you kind of develop yourself? Do you really delve into costume, even just the rims of the glasses, the style of the boot? Is that something you really like to delve into when creating a character or forming a character that's written on the page?
Yeah, we both got into that. I mean, I think it's pretty important. It's not like, it's not Elvis. It's not about the glitter and the 15 costumes and the musical numbers. But because it's not about all of those different changes, it's almost the guy almost wears the same outfit. So you have to get all of that sort of detail right. There's in the subtlety of it, those details have to be spot on. It's the same as, like, if that light, if that lamp looks out of place in that frame, if it distracts, it's got to go. Like, when you're working on that kind of focused and minimalized and detailed approach, you have to be really on it. It seems like there's not a lot to it, but not one little thing can slide by without it. It can stick out like dog's balls if it's wrong, because you're dealing with a sparse palette. I don't know what the question was. I've lost it.
Yeah, the haircut and tattoos were there very in the script, especially, and focused upon when Simon came on board, because I really wanted to give Simon really, like, make him feel like, as an actor, feel like we've never seen him in this, totally disconnect from what audiences may, have preconceptions of Simon. And so that's not actually, why it was done. But it was done because this is a part of the character. But it was very early on that we kind of, I think it's important to set up something and then go from there, set up a base ground, and we build the character up. It was just important to get that initial kind of landscape of Travis Hurley from the base ground and kind of build upon that from there together.
Ivan, I haven't watched your films for quite some time now. And I remember I interviewed you like years ago, back when Tumblr came out. I think it was back in 2011 and such, and watching your films since then. There's a theme of loneliness that comes up quite a bit in your movies, especially in the lead characters, whether it be Jay in Mystery Row or Travis in Limbo, or your characters in Loveland as well. Where does that kind of come from, that theme of loneliness in your characters? Because it does seem like a lot of times your characters, especially the lead characters of these guys, these men, are going through their own kind of like personal, kind of like almost kind of like existential journey. Is that something that kind of just speaks to you as a storyteller and filmmaker? Is that something that you look at, you relate to when you watch movies as well? Because I know you like watching those character dramas of the 60s and 70s, and I think that a lot of that kind of stuff kind of resonates in your movies as well.
Yeah, I think, well, there was a endemic before COVID, and people talked about it a lot. Was loneliness is something that's I just saw something the other day about America being the loneliest country in the world. Apparently, it's loneliness. For me, I think it's something I find that I'm attracted to within and creative expression of that. I find loneliness as a fascinating trait of the human being, and it's amazing that in this time and age, people are still talking about loneliness now, and talking about it more than ever before. And we've never been so physically and closely connected via communication as now, but we seem to be more lonely now than ever before. And I find that fascinating. That what is this thing of loneliness? Where does it come from? And it's just a part of that existentialistic kind of thing that makes us human, I guess. Are we destined to just be lonely creatures until we blow ourselves to pieces? And so it does find its way into my work, and it's just looking for connection as well. And people looking to connect, people looking for a reason why they're alive on the planet, and it's there in reality, and it's something that I think it's probably there in every single film or book ever created in a subtle way, if you look for it, because it's inherent within all the creators as well.
Simon, this my final question. Ever since Breath, which you directed and starting, it was a great film as well, by the way. You've had a focus on doing movies and TV shows in Australia, and I really think that this last stretch of movies that you've done, back from Breath and through to Higher Ground, and now with Limbo, and it has been, I think, in my opinion, the best work that you've put on screen so far. I actually love the stuff that you're doing. And I think a lot of it comes down to that a lot of these stories are not only, of course, uniquely Australian stories, but they're character-driven stories as well. They're really strong in that way. What type of opportunities have you found in Australian film and TV, as opposed to other markets, etc., that you're able to tap into these character-driven stories, that you're able to put these performances to screen? Because, as I said before, I just think the work that you're doing lately especially has been really strong and really kind of transformative, especially in the way that you present yourself on screen. Limbo, a very strong case in point in that.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate you saying that. Look, I feel, I spent 20 odd years in America, and established a career for myself there. And a large portion of my life, I was a father and a husband and a provider, and that's kind of was what I wanted. That didn't mean that I didn't have an artistic heart. There was always a reason why I got into this profession, and it was because I remember as a young teenager, going to the movies and feeling a connection and not feeling alone or not feeling isolated, or and having something to to project and reflect on screen, and that connection is interesting. In relation to sort of what Ivan was saying about loneliness, I think we're also living in a very interesting time, particularly in this country. It's a colonized country that has that holds this ancient culture that is still intact, And we have a radical shared history for the last 200 years. There's a lot going on. That's just in our country. Then we have all of this other stuff about, where we're heading as a society, not just in Australia, sort of the global society where we communicate through digital means all the time, and people are less and less in rooms together and around each other. So there is more to explore in that in that realm to me, and I feel like there's benefits in this country. The fact that we don't have a massive film business, there's benefits to that, because we can make smaller character-driven films that have the potential to connect with marginalised aspects of our society and our culture, and we can do that in a relatively small and analog way. And we can still make cinema, make movies that may start a conversation or potentially move the needle a bit. And that's exciting to me on an artistic level and as a human being. And I think also being, being the age that I am now, I think I'm more conscious of wanting to connect with the work that I do, and that doesn't mean that it's always successful. But I think if I think about it, overly think about it, analyze it, that's a lot of my drive. There's always entertainment, and it's interesting now how there are these massive tentpole movies that are just all about entertainment, and they pour hundreds of millions of dollars into those, and they reach these massively broad audiences. But then the other side of it is we have these tiny, small films that are often actually about something, and we are lucky enough to be able to make those kind of films. Ivan is incredibly talented and skilled filmmaker. He can make those films. He knows how to make them. He knows how to craft them. But he also has a pretty unique perspective into a world that we don't see very often on screens. And coming back to Australia, I was overwhelmed with the potential for new and interesting ways to approach stories within this country. So yeah, I've been really very fortunate to be able to be involved in to be able to make Breath, and to be able to work on High Ground, and to work on a film called Blaze last year, a couple of years ago, and Limbo. It's good, and I hope that it continues. I hope that we can continue to make films that actually reach audiences and connect audiences and make audiences understand more about their existence and their part in the bigger picture in the conversation.
Well, I hope that happens as well. And the best way for people to be able to do that is to go to the cinema and watch these movies. So when Limbo comes out, May 18, everyone out there listening, go buy a ticket, watch this at the cinema, watch it for the performances, watch it for the beautiful photography, for the storytelling, watch it for the important story. It really is a great film. And Ivan and Simon, I thank you both very much for your time today. Congrats with the movie. Best of luck with the film's release. And hopefully we'll get to talk again in the future. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Matthew. Cheers, mate.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content. Also, if you would like to request a review and support my work, please join my Patreon via the link in the description below.